Bros, welcome. Better Bros podcast number 3. Today's guest is Brandon Moore. He's a father, he's an author, he's a modern day truth speaker who's doing what most men won't. He's rebuilding American masculinity from the ground up. He's bringing back what our grandfathers knew, that manhood and fatherhood aren't separate things. They're one and the same. In this episode, we dig into discipline, fatherhood, and the war on comfort. We talk about raising sons who can think, act, and lead. We talk about screens, responsibility, emotional control, and how men can reclaim their role as the steady hand at home. This one's raw, brothers. It's powerful. It's packed with wisdom. You'll feel it in your chest. If you're ready to stop drifting and start leading, join the Brotherhood, man. 5 pillars, 1 mission. www.menmadebetter.com. It's www.menmadebetter.com. Enjoy. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Better Bros podcast, episode number 3. We got the stud, the legend himself, Brandon Moore, Don Hickman, Barret, Nobel, Better Bros. You know what we're about. If you don't, go watch the other episodes. I don't feel like explaining it right now. Brandon, what's up, brother?
How are we doing? I'm so glad we had a chat before this. This has been pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly wish I had already started recording because we've already gone through autism, being badass, being a truth speaker. It's like we could have had a full episode already.
This is why I beat my people to my podcast. I hit record. As soon as I jump in, record.
So I'm gonna start doing that. Start catching some of those candid moments in here. Well, we don't. The kind of main focus, I guess, with this episode is on fatherhood. I mean, obviously, we're all fathers. It's one of the core pillars of being in the Better Bros family. And I know no better father than Mr. Moore over here. So thought we'd hop on and shoot some fatherhood advice, and anything that bleeds over into the rest of the pillars is just a bonus. So I guess we could kick it off with just tell us a bit about yourself, Brandon. You're a good old Texas boy, if you couldn't hear the accent. So
that accent bleeds all over the place. I grew up in Alabama, and I was born in Texas, and I spent a lot of time in Texas, and now I'm back in Texas where I was born. My son was born here, so it's just there.
Yeah.
Did one of those 90-day challenges, and it absolutely changed my life. You know, get rid of the smut that's in your life. Get rid of that. Read every day, journal every day, work out every day. You know, I tried. Change your diet. I tried to do all of it in the same 90-day block. That is terrible. Don't try to do that. Just stagger that out. Pick one torture at a time. And then as I think I was 6 months to a year into that, I stumbled upon my purpose in life. And it's this book set that is designed after World War I for fathers to reconnect with their sons and how to help them rebuild American masculinity, what it truly meant for our culture as men. And it absolutely blew me away because I thought, my wife and I joke and say, they always tell us there's no handbook on being a parent. There's 20. There's 20 of them. And I leave these on my desk, but the 2 books that I've got out now, I've republished them. These and Fathering the Boy and The Boy's Own Book. I dubbed it Returning Fatherhood to Masculinity because I realized that masculinity in its entirety, mantle, purpose, point is fatherhood. It should all lead to fatherhood. Everything that I do, in every way that I do it, teaches my son how he should conduct himself. And that was tough. That was tough to tolerate because it was like my great-great-grandfather told me that I was being a sissy and that I needed to be better. And it was I just needed to be better. And he was right. And it started me on I mean, you guys, we have almost the same creed, better bros. I think that I know what helped me become the better version of myself. And I want to help men be the best versions of themselves, not best like I am. Just because this is my creed, my method does not mean that it's going to work for somebody else. But there is absolutely a better version of themselves in there that they may or may not need help getting out. And these books help me do that in a way that I would just I would love for everyone to experience it. My son and I were, in a way, my wife is not his biological mother, and he got to that point where he was very disrespectful. You know, he's getting those first testosterone dumps,
Mm.
and he's starting to just lash out, which was incredibly uncharacteristic of my son. And I took exception to that. And my parenting style used to be, I want to get this right, authoritarian.
Mm.
I didn't used to know what that meant, but it was my way or my way. There was no highway. There is only my way. And it got to a point, understandably, of friction.
Yeah.
And I was raised unintentionally, right? I don't think that my stepdad or my dad did this intentionally to me, but it's just the time period that I was raised in. That if my dad and I didn't get along after I became a man and moved out, but I was a man, then that was a price well paid. So I had this mentality that if my son dislikes me and doesn't really want anything to do with me, but he'll still love me, but he's out there being a good man, then I won. And I would just pay that price. I didn't like it. I was searching for an alternative. And then these books, they were an alternative. And as I'm reading them, I'm getting excited. My son's getting excited listening to me. And he's like, I like that. I like that. And we're having this dialogue back and forth. And it basically boiled down to this. I'm going to butcher this quote from it. What is a father but the very best sort of brother? What is a brother but the very best sort of friend? I always had this disdain for a parent should be their child's friend. I didn't actually have a problem with that philosophy. My problem was with the definition of friend.
Mm. Mm.
A friend, when I grew up, was someone that would let you make a fool of yourself. It's just someone you hung out with a lot. It's someone you associated with. We've muddied the words, and that's where the problem was. The way that you help your son learn how to do something is exactly like if one of you guys came over to my house and I was teaching you about something you wanted to learn that I knew how to do. I'm not just going to be like, you do it this way, you do it this way. That's never going to work because you're going to be like, hey guy, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. I don't have time for this crap. I got stuff to do. I could have got this from anybody. I don't need it from you. Just so with respect. And my son and I decided to follow this book to the letter, and it has done nothing but bring us profit.
That's
From
awesome.
There's always that saying that I'm actually very fond of. You can tell the goodness of a tree by the fruit that it produces. There are no worms in this tree. There are no, there is no rotten fruit on it. This has been nothing but good. And I want to help people share that with the world. So I spend a fair amount of time, well, actually, any of my free time I use to help other guys.
Man, dude, when you said American masculinity at the very beginning, I got goosebumps. I don't know what it is, but just like hearing those two words next to each other, I don't know, something about that just fired me up. And then I think I want to end this.
Yeah, this could be a long one. I'm here for it.
Real quick, bros, the only way this podcast grows is if you share it. Drop a rating, send it to a brother who needs it. That's how we build better men.
So you said something that really kind of made my ears perk up because it's something that I resonate with. It's almost like you said parents should be a friend, and that you should treat your kids like an adult, like you would treat a friend. And that's something that I'm very big on too. I think there's a lot of parents in this world that their kids, we should treat them like kids. And you alluded to it, or you directly stated it, that, you treat them as an authoritarian and do it this way, do it that way. And like you said, if you're showing a friend how to do something, you wouldn't just come down on them in a rude sort of way and just, this is the way. You talk it out, and there's a way you treat a friend.
Authoritative.
It's almost like saying treat somebody the way you want to be treated, right? It's almost like the golden rule like that, right? So that's just something I've always been big on. I'm big on freedom with kids. I'm big on
How
don't
are they
just do
going
it.
to make mistakes if
Yeah,
you don't
yeah,
give them enough freedom to make the mistakes?
right.
And man, you got me fired up. Like
Let's go.
you already
Let's
said
go.
some stuff. I wholly disagree with the premise of let them be kids, because, this is how I can explain it. When does childhood end? Does it end at 6? Does it end at 12? Does it end at 18? A lot of people in our society now will say 18, because then they're an adult. Okay, that's incredibly cruel from my perspective, because now you have an 18-year-old that only knows how to be a child, that you have, this is Sparta kicked into adulthood and said, figure it out. You haven't taught them anything about money. You haven't taught them about responsibility. You haven't taught them about integrity. You haven't taught them how to control their emotions. You have failed them utterly and completely, all for the sake so that they had a good 18 years. And I'm giving an extreme here. 18 years, so that's too long. Somewhere between 6 and 8 is probably more appropriate, depending on the kid, and the parents, somewhere in there. So I've got some gifts there. I want my son to know how to do everything that I think I should have been able to do. And according, 100 years ago, we did know how. 100 years ago, you didn't move out at 18. You weren't just like, hey, 18, eat. You didn't, that's not the way it worked. 18 to 21, you could sign contracts at 18. You were an adult contractually, but you had the benefit of living with your parents in that 3 years to really gain some leverage on the world. So that at 21, you should be courting a young lady and trying to get her to marry you so you could move into a house together, so you could get this going. You didn't, well, back then the guys didn't make a mistake and were like, hey, look, I bought this house. You want to live here? And she walks in. I hate it. You didn't make that mistake. You said, hey, I want to get married. Let's go look at houses. That was the thing. Not for everybody, but proper middle class and up, that was the way. So I want my son to know how to do a lot of things. So right now, he is on a track. He's 13 this year. I don't know. I know Barret doesn't have any sons. Don, you got a son? All right.
Yeah, I got one kid. I got one kid. He's one son. He's 10. My daughter's 8.
10. He needs to be working a 40-hour work week. My God, no, I'm kidding.
Well, I was just gonna say, you're saying that, and it sparks something in me. I don't keep your thought. I don't want to derail it too much, but kids can do so much more than we even give them credit for at young ages. It's incredible. I've been posting this on Twitter and stuff, and the guys in my group know that I bought my son at 10 a car, right? So his go-kart was breaking all the time, and I went to look at the price of side-by-sides, like youth models, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's outrageous. I can buy my kid a car for this money. Yeah. So we went out, we bought a smart car for, I'm not gonna say the price or whatever, but so my kid's go-kart is now a smart car, right? He's 10 years old, and he drives a car around the yard. Right? The kid can drive a car at 10. So my point is that they can do so much more than we even give them credit for.
Excuse me.
And so to your point about, they turn 18 and they can't even do anything anymore. It's like, no, you should have been giving them responsibilities and empowerment
the whole
back
time.
at age 6, 8, whatever it was, 3. I don't care what it was. But so a point that I wanted to make on that is that a lot of times So I'm gonna fire you up. We'll see the men take a back seat in that marriage and in that parent role, and they let the mom do basically the raising of the kid. And I've seen a lot of times, I'm not going to generalize and say every time, but I've seen a lot of times the mom will just perpetually do things for the kids that they can do themselves. They won't give that empowerment. They'll just do everything for the kid. And it's a dad's job, my opinion, to step in and be like, what are we doing? We're just enabling. We're doing the things for them. Stop. If they can do these things themselves, let them do these things themselves. Let them learn. Let them make mistakes. Let them find a way. If they got a way it works better than the way we told them and taught them, let them do that. So that's just something I see a lot. I'll probably push some buttons for you, but
Yeah, you did
yeah.
several actually.
Yeah. Go for it, man.
All right. So, which point to hit first, man?
I got a little Excel
All
sheet.
right.
I'm just taking notes as we go.
All right, sweet. There is one of the things in fathering the boy that hit me so hard was if a child is old enough to say give me, they're old enough to say please. So you can start immediately with proper manners. There's no excuse for it. If they can say give me, they can say please.
Oh, yeah.
There's no reason. It's a one word. You can do the same action instead of give me, which seems very needy and disrespectful. Please. It changes entirely. So there's that. And oh man, I lost one of them. My son at 13, this year we have regular family meetings, and we discuss the
John just got
check this out.
excited.
Check this out. Check this out. All right. Each one of us and our wives this is to me the best way to look at a household. It is a business. Now, before people get up there like hackles all upset, let me explain. Calm down. It's the business, and its profit is happiness, because a happy home develops happy people, and happy people make happy citizens. Happy citizens make the best citizens. Now, I am a senior member in my household. I am on the board. Like I am an advisor. I am the leadership. I am the executive. Like it's all there. My wife is a senior member. My son is a junior member in this firm that we call home. So we have regular business discussions about the happiness in the home. If my son dislikes the way something is going, he is homeschooled. So if he dislikes if he takes issue with his teacher, he has that opportunity to bring it up. Now, we never like point fingers. He is like, well, my teacher, my teacher this, my teacher that. And then we can discuss it, right? We can go through. Or my homework, or, this is too hard, like I'm overburdened here. We have actual conversations. Now, that doesn't mean that it flows the way this conversation does, right? He's only 13. He's still developing the skills of communication and conversation. So there are a lot of long pauses. He really thinks about it. He does have what's being called the Gen Z stare, where he will just like, what are you doing? Like, I think they get that from when they used to watch TV. Like all the characters there, when they think, they'll just
That's funny.
pause and glitch out. My son this year at 13, since we buy his homeschool curriculum and we buy the physical books, we don't do digital. He this year was responsible for paying for his electives that he got to choose. So he bought that. He spent his summer, guys, I got to brag, right? Just a little. This is so impressive to me. He is 13 years old. He spent his summer mowing grass. That's his job. He has his own little side business that is mowing grass in the neighborhood.
That's awesome.
He saved up money from his clients all summer so that he could buy his own microscope for school and the slides and all that, because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted the science kit as an elective. It came with this huge price tag of like $400. He saved up and worked 400. Some of it was birthday money. He saved up $400, and that's what he spent it on. And
That's
now
awesome.
he's saving up for a pressure washer because the mowing grass season's about to end, and he's like, driveways.
A little entrepreneur.
Now is the time to make these mistakes, man, because
Yeah.
if he fails here, is he homeless? No. If he fails at 18 at that same business model, he's homeless. That's terrible. Or 25, whatever. We were using 18 as a benchmark to get out. I don't have a benchmark to get at. Like, I want him to be fully prepared. So as the years spend, this year 13, he also is responsible for his own hygiene products.
There's going to be a
Each one
big
of those he
expense
will
for a
buy.
13-year-old.
And so he buys them all. He lets me know when he needs them. He gives me the cash, and then we acquire it for him. And it's just that way. He's enjoying it because he got to buy not the toothpaste that I bought for him, but whatever he wanted, because now it's on his dime. And now he sees that there's different price brackets and how to control it and what he can do. He doesn't he does not like he likes having money. He does not like spending money. And so by the time he is 18, which he's set to graduate at 16, by the time he's 18, I want him to be fully ready with a business of his own to be able to launch out into the world. That's the goal. Why would the goal be anything less? Well, what about his childhood? So you mean to tell me, there you go, there's my point. I came back around to it. I found it. You mean to tell me that we sacrifice our children so that they have an 18-year gap in their lives, which are awesome? Okay. So how many millennials know that they're striving and just in desperation to get any joy from their childhood back because that's the only time they can remember joy? How many millennials are out there doing that? It's terrible to extend the childhood in sacrifice of the entire adulthood. If you live 100 years, you sacrificed 20 years, and I'm just rounding up now, I'm giving it a little more, for 80 years of misery. No, that is cruel. That's why I say it's cruel to do so. If you had the opportunity to teach me a bunch of life skills that were going to be advantageous to me, but instead you let me play with my Tonka truck in the dirt, come on, man. Like, you got your photo, click. Now what use is it?
Yeah.
That photo actually doesn't mean anything to me. I can't look at it and go, yeah, those were the days. Like, what?
I want to jump in there for a second.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'd venture to say, so you're saying sort of bring some of those adulthood responsibilities into childhood, rather than just give them 18 years of being a child, then a hard switch to, okay, you're an adult now, right? So I'd venture to say also, just a quick point, that you should also, just because you're 18 doesn't mean you got to stop being a kid. I mean, some of you have seen my Twitter feed. I play like there's no tomorrow, right? Like I'm still a kid at heart, right? So you should still, even though you're an adult now, you should still have what I call like the childlike wonder. Don't lose your kid status just because you're an adult. I think too many people flip that switch at 18 or 25, whenever they become an adult, and they're just like, everything's childish. I'm not going to play. I'm not going to play with the kids. They're on their own. Like, I'm still a big fan of being a kid at heart, right? And I think a lot of people know that. But if you don't, I am. So the point is, we can take some adult things and bring them into childhood. We can take some childhood things, bring them into adulthood. And I guess one of the things too on that is like, so some adults can't play. They absolutely killed the inner child because of the stresses of life, the stresses of work. There's too much going on. You don't have capacity when you're struggling to pay bills or whatever the heck it is. When you're just in survival mode, you don't have time to experience the joy and happiness and childlike wonder of being a kid. So there's a little bit just,
Or a father.
So I would guess, to anybody watching this, I would say, let's pause and do a quick assessment of yourself and your capacity. Are you in survival mode? Do you not even have a chance to go and have hobbies and have free time to yourself? Go enjoy what you want to do, hang out with some bros, do some things that bring you joy. Because if that's the case, you got to make a couple changes, right? It's the whole pouring from an empty cup. You got to be able to fill your cup, and if you ain't even at a point where you can fill your own cup in order to better care for your family, a change has got to be made. So another point I wanted to say, if you got a 13-year-old starting businesses, right? Homeschooling himself, buying hygiene products, buying curriculum and equipment. That seems insane. I guarantee you 99% of people watching that seems insane, right? But there's things that seem insane, but what if we just made it the norm, right? Like what if people saw this and were like, wow, that's actually, inspiring as heck. I've got a younger kid. I want to do things that way. be so cool if that would become the norm again, right? Like, decades ago, kids grew up a little bit faster. I mean, I'll take the field car, for example. We don't have field cars anymore. Nobody's driving cars around the yards anymore as kids. Nobody's going out until the streetlights come on and coming home. They're all tracked with devices and stuff, and they're just ruled over. But if we allow them to grow up a little bit as kids and have their own freedoms and sovereignty, for crying out loud, I think the world's a better place. I think we wouldn't be in the situation we're in now, where we need the real men to stand up and rebuild society because things just went astray. But that's a whole other point. Another thing too, you mentioned on the family meetings. So Barrett was chuckling, I was chuckling when you mentioned the family meetings. So in the Better Brotherhood group, every Sunday I remind our guys, hey, have a family meeting if you haven't had one in a while.
That's
Right?
when we have ours is on Sunday.
I'm a big believer. So we'll have them on Sunday, but like I will also call an impromptu meeting if I know things are going off the rails a little bit, maybe just to drive to the mall or whatever it is. It's like, hey,
See, that's
the meeting real quick, right?
oh,
Yeah. So, and it's funny because you've got a 13-year-old and you were kind of talking about the blank stares and sometimes they're learning to speak and all this. So I've been doing this for years, right? So my son's 10, my daughter's 8. Let's just say I probably started when my son was like 6 and my daughter's 4, right? So
all right.
one of the points I want to make is like to me, it's never too early. It's never too early to give your kids input and ask for feedback, right? You ask for feedback from your wife,
Ooh,
like feedback from the
You
kids, and
gotta ooh.
that's what we do. I start the meeting by saying, is there anything I can be doing better? Is there anything this family needs from me that I could be doing better, right? And
You want to
so,
talk
of
about
course,
vulnerability.
yes, sir,
You got to be
yes, sir,
prepared. You have to
yes,
be,
sir.
if you've cultivated, man, this is going to be, I don't know when we're going to be able to end this. I'll see you guys
Yeah, yeah.
tomorrow night.
So, but what?
The-
So, go ahead. Were you going to go on a thought there?
I'll just keep biting my tongue. I'll just keep biting it. You
Okay,
go for
so
it.
I'll just say when you come to that table, when you open that door of vulnerability and you say, I need you to critique me and give me feedback, I mean, it's only logical that you can then provide feedback to the kids, right? And there's
It's
so much
mutual.
more accepting when you've opened that door rather than just constantly authoritatively raining down on them saying, do this, do that, but I don't want to hear it from you. I'm perfect. There's no criticizing me, but you do this, you do that. Oh my goodness. If you want your kids to listen to you, listen to them first, right? Like you said, we said it earlier, treat people like you want to be treated. So I love that. I love that analogy you made to management, and it's a business because you're managing the family the way you'd manage a business. And it is the dad's job. As I said earlier, a lot of times a dad will give the pants over to the wife runs the show, dad takes a back seat and just provides a paycheck, which, oh gosh, that's a whole other thing. But it's our job to step in, and the same way a CEO would step in when things aren't going the way they plan with the business, you step in and you correct. It's the same way with the family.
Barry, you've said almost nothing. You just chuckling and like sitting back and enjoying it.
yeah, no, I've been keeping mental notes. There was a few things I wanted to circle back, but I know you got something you want to fire
I'm
out
just
there.
chomping at the bits. Yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
go for it. Mine are still there.
when you have to, in order to be able to go to a family meeting and say, hey, children, I would like you to savage me, your father, go for it. You have to cultivate an environment that they believe that to be true. Just like, because at work, if you go to work and you're like, hey, it's an open door policy, come in, you can talk to me about anything. You're like, no, I don't think so. That's a
Yeah.
trap. No, thank you.
Nice try,
Nothing's
FBI.
wrong here. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. Understood. You can just move on. But in the family, that's important to have so that you can actually discuss what's going on and then grow from it. That requires, as a man, because these are the things I had to overcome. It requires you being able to accept what is said without it being a personal attack on you and getting angry. You cannot get angry. I can't stress that enough. Like, you cannot visually be like, yeah, I told dad that. Because one of the things I ask is my son is, did we spend enough time together this week? And that question hurts, man, like that. Because used to, like, now I'm open to the hurt, and then I can process it and utilize it as fuel to fix it the next week. Used to, it would be like, how dare you question how I've spent my time providing for you? How dare, we get angry about it because the pride, the ego was hurt. Now I recognize that is not the same thing. Like, just let the ego be hurt. It's fine. The ego doesn't really matter. I need to do these things. And if the ego is in the way, he got to go.
Yeah, you said something on actually have to have that open door policy, right? And so I'm going to couple that with you also have to listen and show them that you are applying what they had said, right? So
Yeah.
if they've got feedback, you have to show that you're actively trying. And so I was going to talk about this. I had a note to talk about consistency as a father. So that's one of the most important characteristics, I think, of a father is consistent behaviors, right? You have to be the rock for your family. You have to be predictable. You can't just wishy-washy, and sometimes you rain down upon them, sometimes you don't. Sometimes, they'll come and ask dad 2-3 times, and then you bend and say, okay, fine, do the thing. You know what I mean? Consistent behavior in a father is so important, and that consistency in the family meeting, like you said, of not being angry, applying what is said, listening. So you can't have a family meeting and then going, sometimes you do the things and apply it, and then other times you don't.
Mm-mm.
Your kids are watching that and they're like, okay, the correct behavior is to sometimes listen and sometimes not, right?
What does that
So
do? I
I don't
I have
know,
a
dude.
flip
That's
on
how
you
we
for
got
that.
here.
I have a flip on you for that. Everyone is consistent, whether they like it or not. You can be consistent in your inconsistencies.
There
You
it
need to
is.
be
Yes, sir. Yes,
intentionally
sir.
consistent on what you want your children
Mm,
to replicate in you.
mm.
Intentionally consistent. Everybody, yeah, I still haven't finalized how this little, I don't know, example. I think everybody is living out successfully the solution of the variables of their lives. So if you look at your life as though it's a formula, you are 100% successful in that formula and what it equates to. Your life is that summary. If you dislike that, we have the benefit of changing any one of these variables that we dislike. If you don't like that you are physically unhealthy, you have the capacity to change that. If you're not walking at all, I love the 365 rule. If you did 0 push-ups last year and you only do 1 push-up every day this year, at the beginning of next year, you will be able to say, I did 365 push-ups last year. So it's just a slow growth, consistent. Don't decide I'm going to do, like you said earlier, like 300 push-ups a day. Don't decide I'm going to do that or I've failed. Whoa. I mean, set the goal, go for it. Because for me, setting a goal that is completely unrealistic and unattainable, but truly striving towards it anyway, that helps me. Like, I want this. This is going to make me seem so cartoonish. I set the goal that I'm going to save the world by being a better dad and helping other men be better dads. If I fail any part of that, and I'm actually striving towards that, genuinely as though it is possible, failing anywhere short of that is awesome. Right?
Mhm.
It's great.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
And failure, our
That's
relationship with failure is so broken. Like, failure means, oh, I should stop. It's not the same as pain. Pain is just a signal saying, hey, something's up here. We should pay attention. And pain is not the same as discomfort. Discomfort is, man, this is getting really rough. I'm really tired of lifting this particular weight. You can push through that. The pain is like your ligament snapped off and it's going, hey, we're done. We can't do this. And I think you still have David Goggins is a monster, but I still think you have the responsibility to yourself to say, no, I understand, body. You're telling me this signal is there to be aware, but I'm telling you we're doing it anyway, just so that I can prove to you I'm the one that's the boss. I'm the one running the show.
Love
I
that.
know my brain is going, ow, hey, ow, but I don't care. Go.
Yeah, I love
that's
pushing past all that stuff. It was earlier when you had mentioned like the capacity for children and how we don't really. I mean, I'm on my only frame of reference is me, obviously growing up. things were very different than they seem to be presently. But
Yeah.
so this summer we went and ran a gnarly obstacle course race, War X. Apparently, it's like the hardest one possible, and it simultaneously the first one I never run. So I set the bar pretty high there. So thanks, Don. But anyways, after we ran that race, I went and hung out with my grandparents. They live in like one of the largest Amish communities in Ohio. They're not Amish; they just live in the heart of it. There's like a retirement community. Anyways, we were wandering around the community. My grandparents have been there for quite a long time, so they're pretty friendly and on terms with all the Amish people. And some of the stuff that I saw would just like blow people's minds around where I live right now. So we walk up this driveway, got greeted by the father. I look around, there's probably 7 or 8 kids. Each of them is doing some different chore or activity around the house. The little one's playing in the yard, but the little I say little, he was like 2 or 3, so pretty little, can't really contribute much. But then I look over in the garden, there's like a 4-year-old, he's out there weeding. I look over to the right, I see like a 7-year-old, he's on a stand-up riding lawnmower, just doing the entire property, like several acres worth of mowing the lawn. I look over, I see the girls hanging the clothes and doing whatever they're doing. They're maybe 10 or 12, and like that's how I grew up. So it was very odd to me to be able to see that in like a modern time. Cause I mean, if I walk down the street now, I don't see kids for the first part. Like they're just inside screens in their face. And that's annoying in and of itself, but that's a whole different thing. But it, when you were talking about that, it just reminded me of seeing that again. It's like, oh, that does still exist. Like people still do have their kids contributing to the household, and they'd still have the capacity to be able to actually be like not useful, because I don't think that's the right word, but like they're still contributing to the household. They're helping around. It's not just the parents doing everything and then being burnt out and frustrated and taking all that anger and frustration out on the kids because the kids are just sitting there on screens all day. And those were a couple of things that had popped into my mind when you were talking about that, and it just reminded me of my childhood. And I didn't I wasn't the biggest fan of it at the time, of course. I mean, my parents were making me do things around the house I didn't want to. I wanted to go outside, like, not be on a screen. I just wanted to go play with my dogs and run around the woods and just normal childhood stuff for my childhood. But now that I'm a parent and an adult, I've reflected back on that several times, and I really appreciate it now. Is a weird thing to think about, because I remember being so frustrated with it at the time. But now it's nice to be able to look around at different peers that I have. I'm like, I have so many more skills than these guys have. And like, I grew up working on a dairy farm, and I would always help my dad with like carpentry or like helping with the vehicles and all that stuff. And it's, it's troubling to me how little of those skills are present outside of like professions, like just normal day to day jack of all trade kind of dudes. It's like, it's a dying breed. And it all kind of tied in with what you were saying of, giving the kids a little bit more responsibility, and they are way more capable than most people are led to believe, or maybe they're just in denial. I'm not sure what it is, honestly, because I see it all the time. Just helicopter parents, like, oh, you can't tie your shoe. I'm like, the kid's 8 years old. Come on, like where have you failed in like completely enabling the kid to just sit there and be like, oh, I can't tie my shoe? It's like, I'm so glad that you're not my kid, because that would frustrate me beyond belief if you're that age, incapable of doing such basic things.
Probably a divorce. It's like there's gonna be some disagreements that are pretty aggressive
Yeah.
to deal
Barret,
with.
I gotta jump in there, dude. You said a lot of awesome stuff, and so you said that you're good at a lot of things, Barrett, and have a lot of skills. Um, that is that is so huge. By having this family business model, and I was literally just thinking to myself, there's a book idea that called The Family Business and running your family as a business. I don't know if that exists or not, but if it doesn't, we need to make that happen, right? Because if you think about running a business, Barrett mentioned about having people, the kids just helping, right? Think about having a business and none of your employees are helping the business run. I mean, it's just
What-
that's what it is, right? You're just all right. We're gonna hire these people. We're just gonna do nothing. We're just gonna
They have a
freeload
name
and
for
do
that.
nothing.
They have
Yeah.
a name for that. It's
So,
called government.
yes. Oh boy, that's a whole other kid. That's another podcast. That's another podcast. But anyway, so what I was a big concept of that is so my kids are growing up watching dad be a jack of all trades. They're watching dad work on cars. They're watching dad build a ninja course for him, build a chicken coop, doing a job, doing a side hustle, whatever these things. I'm a DIYer, which I firmly believe in. Like, you've got to do everything yourself, but you should learn these things. You should stay curious, right? That's on one of my shirts. Stay curious. That's one of the biggest things. One of the biggest concepts I think a lot of people are missing out on is they turn like 18 or 25. Like, I'm done. I've learned enough. I don't care. But stay curious. Now, you have to go take it back a step further. Is there's a way you can encourage staying curious, and that is by doing these things and showing your kids and exposing them to these things, exposing them to, I don't know, a garden or building things or science, like you had mentioned, Brandon. You got to expose them to these things so that they can stay curious and they're not just on a screen watching other people do these things. And then anytime you ask them to do something new, it's like, no, 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 right? But by showing them these things, and I take it one step further. I don't just lead by that example. I'll say while I'm doing it to sort of reinforce double whammy, like, hey, look at me building this ninja course. I can do crazy stuff. I don't just leave this to other people. I like to learn. I like to know, how to do my own things and stuff. And, you show them how to mow the grass. And you say, well, I like to mow my own grass rather than pay somebody because I like to keep my money. And so you show them
Yeah.
how to mow the grass, right? But you show them these things, and it doesn't always work. Nothing ever works with kids 100% of the time, but you can start to plant those seeds of curiosity and showing how to be a well-rounded person in several different areas. And that starts young, right? And if you screw that up young, you can screw that up forever, right? If you don't show them things, if you're not showing them that you're curious and you're still learning and you're well versed, you can ruin that. And then you got a teenager that's just like, nope, don't want to do that, don't want to do that, and they're not interested in nothing but watching screens of other people doing stuff. So I just want to hit on a couple of those things.
A family business is brilliant on every way. I'm about to blow Barrett's mind. 100 years ago, right? They just started passing the concept of child labor laws was beginning to develop. And then it was a very good thing to happen. There were kids dying in factories, and then in gruesome ways, like the Industrial Revolution was taken off. But 100 years ago, if my 13-year-old went on to either of y'all's property because y'all employed him, which was possible then, like a 6-year-old even, can go and get a job, that money went towards the support of the family, and that's who's the wages. So if my son went to your property and you were his employer, and as a result of him being there and you being a fool, he broke his leg, my son can sue you for his wages. And I now have also lost wages and can sue you as well. So if that's crazy, right? Like, that's a totally different, because you've cost two individuals their money. But we don't do that anymore because it's not viewed. You don't have child labor laws. So now when a child gets, well, I say a child, they shouldn't be considered a child, but everybody here knows that in the majority of cases, they are children. When a 14, 15, 16-year-old goes out and gets a job, they have the mindset that that is their money. Now, my son makes a living for his money, and I am trying to encourage him to do more. So I can't just go back to this 100 years ago mentality and pick it up and bring it all the way in. There has to be some give and take here so that it can continue to flourish. The hope is that my son will be able to continue moving society forward. That blows people's mind. Like, the idea that you're going to take your child's money and allowances. My son also gets an allowance because he is a part of the family, and the family's success is directly related to his success. Where that allowance comes from is not what most people, it's not, oh, I have this additional burden. Money training is a way that I look at it. You're spending money on your child regardless. You're spending it on things that they need. They need clothes, they need resources, they need pencils for school, they need different things. use that exact same amount of money and teach them how to spend it. Show them their options. And they may surprise you in how quickly they're like, well, I want that one. Sorry, but you got daughters. I want that one with unicorns. And the pencils are pink and sparkly. All right, honey. But these yellow pencils are 10 cents a piece, and that is $1 a piece. And you won't have any money for candy. You won't have any money to buy like a dress later. You won't have money to buy, whatever it is that you want to do because you spent all your money on these pencils with unicorns on them. They will, a lot of the times they will make decisions. Now, I don't have a daughter, and I imagine that there is some difficulty with consistently having those consequences that are very natural. I'm a big fan of natural consequences. You just have to be there to say, no, this is a natural consequence of your choices. And their brains, I mean, if you think their brains are not even big enough as children to house a lot of the inner workings that we all take for granted. We've been adults with a fully functioning brain for a long time. They're developing. I mean, at a certain point, their brain doubles in size through puberty so that it can house all this stuff. My wife and I were talking about emotional regulation. We expect them, I think, as parents, one of the mistakes we make in that expectation is that we say, hey, just calm down. Or, hey, just need to control your emotions. But we take for granted that we've already learned how, most of us, and they don't know how. We haven't told them how, we haven't taught them how, and a lot of times we haven't even displayed how. Like, it's very easy to fly off the handle and be like, oh, why don't you just control yourself? Why are you slapping your brother? Like, what do you? I don't care that he took your toy out of your room. Like, why are you slapping him? We can't just expect them to behave like an adult. We need to show them how to behave like an adult. But we need to show them in a way that is from a position of love, not a position of authority or selfish wants and needs. And that is a difficult obstacle to overcome in today's society.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I struggle with it still. I'm only my daughter, she's 3, we got the oldest, which is 13, but I've only been in her life for 6 years, so I missed a lot of the 0 to 6 age. And I mean, I struggle with the authoritarian view as well. I've gotten so much better in the past couple of years, but it was it's still a constant struggle for me. It's hard to let things go, and I have to try to remember what you were saying about the brain developments. Like, they just don't know how yet, and I have unbelievably high expectations for some things, which I've learned to tamp down and curb a little bit. Thankfully,
Some things.
some things some things I won't let go, but that's a me problem. And I've had several conversations with my wife, who she's a teacher and a specialist with developmental disabilities and just developing children. So she has a lot more formal understanding, and she's been able to help me understand a lot of that stuff as well. But yeah, it's an endless struggle for me. But like I said, I'm getting better. I'm never going to be great, but at least I'm cognizant of it, and I can put in the work to try to help out with that, because I very much been, it's my way or my way. And I like that way more than my way or the highway, because there was no option to leave. And
No.
it's my oldest and I have butted heads several times over that, but I've learned to accept a lot more and regulate my emotions a lot better. Not that I have huge spikes in emotions. I mean, you commented on earlier, I'm pretty calm and mellow. My emotional sine wave is like this. And but
I was going to say, Barry, you talked about maybe a little bit of inconsistency there with authoritarianism or what have you. And one of the things we do in the Better group, and Brandon, you'll probably appreciate this, is we change habits slowly with intention. You used the word intention earlier, and that's like one of my favorite words, like intentionally consistent. So one of the things I'll say to anybody watching this, if you find yourself being authoritarian and you want to change that to a little bit more empowering, giving your kids freedom, letting them have a say. One of the things you can do if you're trying to make that change, and this is what we do in the group, is every day we start each day writing down our intentions. Okay. And you can write down, hey, be less authoritarian, or let the kids have more input, or give the kids more freedom. And we start every single day by writing down who we want to be that day. And then we revisit that the next morning or in the evening and say how we did. Right. And so this is just one way that if anything we're saying on this podcast resonates with you and you're like, oh shoot, that makes sense, I want to make a change, I would recommend that you do this every day. Write that down and then revisit it and see how you did, where you went wrong, where you went right. Now, we do that in the Better group, and you put that not just in front of yourself, but in front of all of your bros. You can see publicly who's trying to change what. And so there's some accountability built in to that, so that you've got to own, like, okay, I said I was going to be less authoritarian today, and either I successfully did that or did not. And you've got to own that in front of your bros and say whether you did or not. And if you did not, we can all chime in and be like, where do you think it went wrong? What happened? Do you need to set reminders throughout the day? Just be like, hey, make sure you're being less authoritarian. So that's something we do in the Better group, is change habits. So if there's anybody out there that needs some work in that regard, we're happy to do that. If you want to jump in the Better group, I like to think we're pretty successful at it. I mean, I've seen a lot of good results with it. I've been running, habit changing and kind of groups of that nature for years now, and writing down who you want to be and intentionally doing those actions day to day. That stuff works. Another thing is, I want to talk about the money. Brandon, you mentioned money. It was just 2 days ago, we went to a family farm out of town, and my daughter was like, hey, how come you never let us buy anything when we stop at gas stations? And so she's 8, right? And I took the time, rather than just say like, nope, just like a hard no, we're not buying it. You take the time and you explain. I try to explain every why, every question to my kids, right? It's not, I will never tire of it. I don't care if people are like, oh, why? I'm not answering. I never tire of it. These kids are curious. They need to know. But anyway, took the time to explain that, gas stations, you're going to pay a higher price at a gas station anywhere else just due to the convenience. You had to come and use the restroom. We had to get gas. It's convenient to buy something here versus somewhere else. And so, if you see something you want at the gas station, if you want to buy it with your own money, that's fine. I can't stop you. But know that by doing that, you're spending more. And if you really need that and you buy that elsewhere, we can probably get that for a less of a price, and you get to keep more of your money. So that's just one of those things that I do, is I will answer the why questions just over and over and over again. I never get tired of it. So I'm a big believer in, like we said, they can manage so much more than we give them. I mean, I've started talking to them about money. I don't know. I don't even know when, but it was like as early as I can remember. There's no certain age, but like I said, my daughter's 8, and hey, hit those money lessons now. Let them understand the why, and let them understand that, like you said, we could buy this pencil or we can buy this pencil, and you help them navigate those things, because,
They don't
you
know
give any
how.
kid, no, they don't know. You give any kid money and they're going to go blow it day one. So you have to manage that. You have to train that the same way you train your employees to do their jobs, for crying out loud. But yeah, you gotta teach. Everything is teaching. I get so excited as a father. Like, everything is a teaching moment. I just get so,
Everything.
I mean, just yesterday I put in our Better group, I put that my son broke a pool cue. I'm a pool shooter, and he broke a cue that I had for 20 years.
Oh.
And it was an expensive cue. I won that. But anyway, and traditionally you'd get pretty angry and go through you, and you'd raid out upon somebody like that. And I was just like, nope, we're going to approach this calmly. We're going to use this as a teaching moment. And I was like, we're going to 1-2 this thing. So we're going to teach them about respecting stuff, right? We're going to teach them about replacing stuff. We're going to teach them that when something breaks, it's okay to tell me, because I'm not going to rain down upon you and make you feel awful about it. I'm going to handle that in a chill manner. Never want you to be afraid to come to me and say something's broken. But then,
especially I messed up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Right there. Then I was like, we'll take it another step further and we'll talk about like sporting equipment. I'm like, some things, you break somebody's coffee cup, you just replace that, right? Sporting equipment's a little bit different. Like if you've been using a bat for years and it's your bat or your glove, that's personal to you. It's used, you've got used to that. A pool cue is the same thing. It takes a little bit to get used to it. You can't just replace that exact one 20 years later because they don't make it. So I don't know. I get fired up. I get excited about teaching moments. And so one of the reasons I get so fired up, so there may be fathers watching this that aren't as fired up, right? They're just ho-hum going through the motions, got to do this dad thing, got to do that dad thing. They screwed up, so I got to yell, whatever. I have what I call the long game in mind, okay? So day to day can be a drag with kids sometimes, but when you have the long game in mind, which I think all three of us, from what I can tell, are on board, we're playing the long game of putting happy, productive members of society out into this world because we've realized that this world has gone down kind of a crap trajectory and real men need to come in and save that. Well, like you said, Brandon, let's shoot for the moon and say that I'm going to change the world. But in the case that I don't, I want my children to go forth and carry that on and be good, productive members of this society. We don't want detractors from society because that's how we end up where we are now. So when you have that long game in mind, when you wake up every day and your goal is to raise awesome kids and an awesome family such that they'll be productive members of society, it's so much easier to kind of adopt the mindset of everything's a teaching moment. They can handle more than anybody thinks. Just start laying it on them. Give them the freedoms. Give them, cultivate happiness. Have the family meetings. It's so much easier when you just think of the long game, that this is all coming to an end result that's going to be greater than any of us. And it's just so much easier to tap into like why you need to change your actions, who you need to be, and how to raise those kids. So takeaway, if you're watching this, keep that long game in mind. Well, I'll add too. I was going to end there, but I'll add too. I mentioned earlier that if you're in survival mode, you don't have the capacity to think about how do I want to steer this world? How do I want to steer these kids? You're trying to survive yourself. And to any guy out there, if you're in survival mode, you need help. We do these sort of things in the Better Brotherhood. We help guys just like you do, Brandon, be the best guy that they can possibly be. We want to see every guy get to a place where they have the capacity to not just survive, but thrive, and then just start thinking of how they want to help other men, how they want to steer their kids, how they want to right the wrongs that we see in these world. Because when you're in survival mode, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about surviving. So we want to get guys to a place where they can say, all right, I'm ready to step up and change the world. I'm ready to make things better because I don't like where this is going.
I don't know that this is 100% true, but this will kind of go back into what Barret was saying too about authoritative. There's authoritative and authoritarian. Authoritative. Wait, am I all messed up? Anyway, one of these is that it's my way or my way, and that's all you get. And the other one is, look, it's my way right now because I have more life experience than you, and I love you, and I'm trying to show you how to get this done. And that's that long term that you're talking about. For me, recognizing that is the only thing that helped me get out of some of my bad behavior, some bad habits. Because I'm gonna be real with you for a minute. I'll say this and then I'll be real. I'm real all the time, but anyway, words, English language. For me, if my son had broken something like that cue, I would have asked, how are you, like, thanks for coming to tell me, how are you going to make it right? Not in a like, how are you going to make this right? Like, but in a genuine curiosity, how are you going to fix this? Like, what is your approach? What are your thoughts? Because this is what this means to me. And I want to know, as your father, as a gauge to see where you're at in your training. I'm now genuinely curious. And now I'm too excited to be upset at all because I want to know what's going on in your brain? How do you think this could fix?
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
That's what gets me excited. When I say bad habits, I used to describe myself as an angry person. And I've been through anger management, and the anger management helped me. It gave me tools to manage the anger. but that didn't mean that it went away. It just managed it. I had an intake and it was constantly coming in because this was so difficult to accept. There was a point in my life a few years ago where I would get angry, and I never hit my family. But I had moments where I was angry, and it was very clear. And I might break some of my own personal belongings to vent because I thought through the anger management course, venting is good for you because it's like, you don't need to hit people. You shouldn't be violent, but breaking things is better than hitting people. That was what I was taught in the anger management courses. And that's what I went with for a very long time. It's crazy, but I had some issues. I had what I now call underdeveloped masculinity in this skill of anger management or anger regulation. What ended up becoming of that later in my life is that I would get angry at something like this incident you had, and I would be visibly angry and furious. And even when I stopped doing that, because I recognized that what did I look like to myself? I looked like, as much as in my mind, I wanted to be like an angry bear or an angry gorilla, I just looked like a 30-something-year-old man throwing a temper tantrum like a toddler. And that would infuriate me more because now I'm embarrassed. But then that made me mad. So it just it spiraled down.
Doom
Right.
loop.
A doom, it's just bad. And then these books helped me point out why that was and the source of it. And it's a usually for angry individuals, especially angry men, when they were a boy, sometime in that boyhood, they couldn't get over a perceived injustice. So something happened to them that they perceived in that moment as an injustice, and they just never let it go. That same injustice I was able to now in my 30s as a father, as an older brother, look back and say, if this scenario happened to me today, it would be ridiculous. It wouldn't even make me mad. I'd be like, oh, that's just part of life and move on. Just like that. But I was holding on to it, and that source was just rooted in every time I got mad. Like this big, long, awful, like kudzu or something, just taking off, consuming everything. Looking up mid rant and seeing that my wife and my son had fear on their face of me, even though I've never hit them or anything, it didn't matter to them because I was terrifying to them. Put my family in a state of fear of myself. That was such a blow that I really didn't like it. So for, I don't know, like 6 months to a year, after a month in of me recognizing it and stopping, mid rant, and just processing it, like really honing down that place. I didn't allow myself to have an outburst until I could answer a few questions. And it was, why am I so angry about this? Not excuses, because that's the first thing that pops up. Well, of course you're angry. This happened. Like, why wouldn't you be angry? No.
Yeah.
Why am I so angry? Not excuses for the anger. Why is it there? And a lot of the times it was just because something silly, like I was embarrassed, or there's this perceived injustice. I felt disrespected. All of these things. Oh, so I would just process that and I wouldn't allow myself to have an outburst, but I would be visibly sweating. I mean, like fuming. The ears are red. I could feel the heat coming off and just trying to just get through this. A month in, my wife is, when I would get angry, even still a month in, and I've been calm. Well, calm. I haven't been having an outburst. She still looked afraid. And that set me off a little bit. And I would be like, no. And I said out loud, why are you still acting like that? And then after I said those words, I remember saying, this is my penance that I have to get through to earn your respect and trust. I understand if that's what it takes for me to get to a point that when I get angry, you're not afraid of me. You're not worried about your safety from me when it's my job to protect you and provide for you. All right. It took a year, a solid year of intentional consistency to change that outcome. And after a year, I was able to even tell my son. Now he's only ever experienced. My wife is, we didn't grow up together. This is just me. So she was a lot quicker. 3, 6 months in, she was like, okay, like you're really trying here and there's progress. I'll give you that credit. I'm not just gonna be terrified that with the deer in the headlights look as soon as something I know displeased you. But my son, it took him a full year before I was able to ask him, just asking him questions like those questions, genuinely curious questions, like, how are you gonna fix this? He'd be crying. And I'd be like, son, why are you this upset? And he's like, well, you're angry. I said, yeah. Why? And like helped him walk through what I had to learn how to do. So it was a new skill for me.
Yeah.
Help him walk through it and realize I'm afraid that you're angry and that scares me. And I said, but are you afraid of me right now? Because what makes you think I'm angry? I said, yes, I'm upset, but we're talking about it. I'm not yelling. I'm not standing up. I'm not standing over you. I'm cool, calm, and collected. And he had to reset after a year. He was finally able to look at me again. Like, well, that's true. I said, when was the last time I did all that? And he was like, oh, we call it FSL. That's that book series.
Hmm.
The FSL is what we call it. And he's like, before FSL. I was like, so we've had FSL about a year and we've ceased doing that. And then he was finally able to not be angry. And that one super bad skill that I had that I couldn't get away from, changing that, developing that from its underdevelopment, blossomed into just a family unit that I can't prepare for. Like now when I'm upset, my family's not like, oh no. They're not like, it's time to go hide. They're like, we got to go disappear. It's like, oh, that's a good reason to be upset. Let's talk about it. And then we have an emergency family meeting. Or we just wait if we don't have time and do it at the family meeting. Like, hey, I was displeased with this. Have you had any time to think about that? Like, I would like to get this done. Now I'm even able to tell my son, hey, I've told you a few times that you need to pick up your room. How many times should I have to remind you to pick up your room before I feel disrespected? Just outright ignored. How many times? And then he's thinking about it. And I said, son, I can't. Your man training has already begun. I can't be here every day of your life reminding you to clean your room and take a shower and do these things you're just going to need to do. You need to want to do them for your own sanity. It doesn't need to be for me. It needs to be for you. So if I need to help you figure that out, let's have that conversation. But otherwise, you need to clean your room.
If you've been nodding your head along with what we've been talking about, but you're still doing nothing, it's time to step up, brother. Hit the link below in the show notes. Join the Brotherhood. www.menmadebetter.com. Let's put action behind your words.
I love how you laid out the transparency and the communication there. I think communication and transparency, such huge key concepts in fatherhood, really anywhere. I truly believe that transparency, communication, simplicity, these things will save the world. I really do, in anything, right? But the transparency is huge because think about all the things like that little dialogue you had about how many times do I have to be disrespected before, or whatever, how many times do you not listen before I feel disrespected? We're thinking that. That's actually going through our head.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's happening so quickly
And that's
that we don't
why
say
that
it, we don't
rage
mention it.
busts up. Yeah, that's
Yes.
exactly why that inconsistency is there, because we're like, I don't want to fly off the handle. I don't want to fly
Yes.
off the handle. That's rude. I don't want to be that way. I don't want to see my family afraid of me. I'm just not going to say anything this time. But then not this time, not this time, not this time. I've had enough. To them, to the children, that doesn't appear as though you've been restraining, and now you've blown up. That just appears like it's not really a big deal. It's not really a big deal. Oh my gosh, it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
but there's
chaotic.
yeah. So there's consistency. You can show them consistency in asking for the same thing 10 times and then blowing up, and then they learn to then they, but then you're training them that you've got 10 asks and then I'm going to blow up, right? So
Yeah.
the first 10 are going to fail every single time, right? Or you
Right.
can train in the consistency of understanding, stopping, pumping the brakes, talking through it, and understanding what the real problem is and why they're not doing that. That's just I don't know. That's so huge. And as parents, I don't know, like maybe we've just never been trained to communicate that specifically or
Mm-mm.
slowly or pump the brakes. Um, but that's pump the brakes. That's another concept of mine. We got a rule in our family, like breaking the pool cue. I've got a rule in the family that is we don't get upset unless it is finances or family. And by family, I mean, is everyone okay health wise, right? Um, and that's something I tell other guys too that have like the anger management issues. And I'll say, why are you getting upset? If it's not financials, like, and I'm talking big loss, you know what I mean? Like if it's not a huge setback, why are you getting upset? They spilled the milk. Okay, it can be replaced. You know what I mean? They broke a toy, it can be replaced. There's things that kids do and we fly off the handle and you got to pump the brakes. You just got to stop and slow down and say, should I be this upset with this? Right. There's guys that'll fly off the handle for just like a simple thing, like even just a one-time kid misbehaves. And it's like, just calm down. Nobody's actually hurt by this. We just need to course correct. And it needs to be, again, there I go getting excited. It needs to be a teaching moment. Right. And if you can get excited about teaching moments versus getting angry about everything that goes wrong, man, I don't know. I think fatherhood's going to go a lot better. And then I was going to say too that, for a long time, you consistently showed them anger and rage, and then a change was made. And they weren't used to that
Mm-mm.
inconsistency
And
because
that frightened them.
you hadn't put in the seat time yet of a year
The
of being
seat time.
consistent with that behavior, right? To any guys that might be watching, when making a change, you need to be patient. You don't just make the change and then you're good with it, so everyone's good with it and everyone's used to it. A lot of these things that we make as leaders of the family, we have to change slowly over time. You can't just light switch it, right? You can't
Mm-mm.
just say, I used to get angry, now I'm going to be peaceful, completely peaceful, right?
No, that's
There's a
frightening. That's
transition.
terrifying.
There's going to be slip ups. There's going to be a times you got to say, I'm working through this. But yeah, we can't just light switch it and
Mm-mm.
push change on the family. We'll go back. I don't know if we said it in this talk or if it was beforehand when we were chatting, but
Oh,
one thing at a time. Okay. If you're a dad, you might be watching this and you're like, oh, I got to make this change. I got to make this change. I got to make this change. Have caution with that. When you're making changes and improvements and trying to be better, one thing at a time, or maybe two if they're two small things, but don't get crazy about it because that's going to be a shock to the family. When you're making changes to yourself, when you're improving yourself, it's a family affair, right? They're involved every day of your lives. I do this when I coach people through weight loss. I say, if you're going through weight loss, you need to involve the family. This is a family change. This is not just a you change, right? Because you're going to need their support, not bringing garbage into the house, understanding that, you're going to be taking time to exercise, right? And they got to get used to that. When people start an exercise plan, I don't say, okay, you're now out of the family for an hour or an hour more every day of the week. Just tell your family, okay, you're not going to see me an hour every day, whatever. No. Start slow. Take an hour one day or half hour, right? Then skip a day, do it the next day. You got to get into this routine. You've got to tactfully change. You don't just throw it all out on your family and say, okay, this is the new normal. No, that doesn't go
mm-mm.
well any of
Let
the
them see
time.
the growth. Let them
Mhm.
see that it's hard in the beginning. Let them see that you're in the middle of, and I talk about the rage because this is actually the first time I've been able to talk about it without being overwhelmed. Let them see that it is difficult. Let them see that you're in the middle of, mm. Let them see that initial awkward struggle of you fighting yourself, wrestling with that. Don't just dive right in and be like, I've got to be perfect or it's not worth trying. No, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up and say that it's so common in any of the circles that I have where someone finally gets to the point where they're like, I have to make this change. I'm like, great. No one can force you. Finally, you're here. And then like Don said, just light switched it. And it's like, dude, and then that they might do well for like a week or so. Great. Completely change the behavior or habit for an entire week. That's fantastic. But then they slip up once and they just completely regress back to the very beginning. Like, oh, it's all or nothing. Like I messed up. I might as well just go back to what I'm comfortable with. And like that's not how you actually facilitate the change within you and your family. You have to be able to do it step by step increments. You have to be able to fail. Like you have to be comfortable with the failure. You at the onset of it, you have to know you're gonna fail. Like there's
It's
been too many
natural.
opportunities. It's completely natural. And everything that we've talked about throughout this entire podcast so far, everything like this thought that keeps popping up into my head is like it's all based on like the foundation of our current education system. Like failure is the worst possible thing in the world. And I think that's the dumbest approach to education. Like, yeah, standardized tests, they're stupid. Like you're telling these kids that, oh, you didn't do well on this, you're a failure. Like, no, that's the failure and the pain and all the discomfort. That's actually the important stuff. That's where all the growth comes to. And I always everything in my head always just couples with fitness. You can't grow unless you're failing. Like you have to literally rip your muscle fibers apart to make them continuously grow and stuff. And like I said, that thought keeps popping into my head where the education system in the country currently is just complete nonsense in my opinion, and it's just some legacy thing left over from like the early 1900s where they just needed a bunch of factory workers and they needed double income, so they're just like, here, just start pumping all these non-critical thinking people out that we can just control because we're like, oh, you failed, so now like I cannot stand when
I
people come down on failure like that. Like that's literally the only part that matters. Yeah, the learning part's important, but you only learn because you failed so many times. You have to fail.
it takes failure to really learn. If I pick up something and I'm naturally good at, what is it that the oh, talent, skill beats talent every day of the week. Because if you're talented at it, why improve? What
Yeah.
benefit do you have from it? Now, if you're talented, you should train it because then you can be truly exceptional, right? Like now you're really you're like the guy about this now. But if you're not skilled at it and you don't have talent, and because you don't have talent, you don't develop a skill, what are you doing? What it's just sad now. It hurts.
So
I don't even want to.
one of the things I was telling, it was just a couple weeks ago. I don't know. I picked my kids up from school, and we I don't know how we came into this conversation, but I told them that the most important thing you can learn in this life is how to learn, right? And because I'm a jack of all trades, I'm one of those guys that people think I can just pick up anything and be good at it, and they're not wrong. I can, but it's because I've learned how to learn. Right. I've learned that when you do things and it's not getting the result that you want, you have to make a change. It's just one of those things that I try to cultivate in I want them to know that they can be good at anything that they want to be good at. Now, there are certain things, and Barrett will take it back to fitness, and guys need to know this too. There are certain things like but we're not genetically the same, right? So if you want to be a bodybuilder, you're going to know pretty early on that it's in the cards or it's not in the cards. No amount of learning is ever going to solve that issue for you, right? But there's a lot of things we do in life or like, a track star versus an average Joe who's trying to be a track star. If that track star actually develops that and trains that, then you're not beating them. I don't care what you do, what you learn, it's not going to happen, right? But for average Joes that want to be better than average at a lot of things, if we learn how to learn, we can do all of those things. And so some of that is going to come down to asking people that are better than you, eating a little bit of humble pie and saying, shoot, I can't get there on my own. I need to ask somebody who's better. And that's where a lot of our, like the Better group comes in, is we got a bunch of guys in there just sharing knowledge on what has worked for them and how they got where they are and how you can be better every day. I'm of the mindset that the brotherhood is the way to go. I mean, there's plenty of guys out there that are spinning wheels, doing the same thing every day, wondering why it's not working. But if you're part of a bigger collective, you can say, hey, I'm spinning my wheels, this isn't working, and you can get feedback. And even if you can't get the answer of why it's not working, you can have a bro say, well, are you trying something different? No. Okay, well, why don't you try something different? I don't know what that different is, but why don't you try something different, right? So that's just kind of the power I see in the collective, and I truly believe, staying curious is big, consistency is big. I hit on a lot of big things, but learning how to learn and then never stop learning is huge too. So I guess I would encourage anybody watching this, ask yourself, do you know how to learn, or do you just do the same crap every single day and expect a different result?
Got a quick point. Y- Y'all's first podcast, episode 1, y'all discuss what brotherhood is. Like I am correct. Like that's a good summary of that episode because
Yeah.
I feel like any one of us could write a dissertation on what brotherhood means, like how important it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't just mean a group of guys collectively doing something together. It means so much more than that. If I had the value of just a fitness brotherhood with you two gentlemen versus going out drinking on Friday nights with another guys, one of these is brotherhood and the other is not. So I just wanted to get that out of the way
Yeah, well,
because
yeah,
brotherhood is
I
huge.
it is huge, and this is where the better brotherhood is actually different. One of the guys was talking in the group about like men's groups at churches, okay? And then you'll also have gyms. You'll do like an F3 or something like that, or you'll have certain workouts. I see a lot of these one-dimensional brotherhoods pop up where, hey, you go to a church group and we all connect on the same faith, so, we can all have discussions around that faith, but it tends to end there. Okay.
Mhm.
So, what we do in the Better Brotherhood is we got the 5 pillars of fitness, finances, faith, family, and friendship, right? So, we do all of these things, right? You might come in for the fitness and then say, oh, well, I got this finance issue too. So now we go hit on that. Whereas if you're in like a church small group, you've got all these questions on faith and you can discuss that. But if you've got an issue over here in finance, number one, usually not even really that encouraged to bring it up. Number two, nobody's really hitting on that because that's not the goal of the thing. You're just one dimensional. Number three, you may not have the resources in there to hit on that goal. But that's what we try to do. That was the purpose of this, is to get together, talk about all things, improve all facets. So one of the things we do is we'll kind of like on Sundays, we give a score. I encourage all the guys, hey, take a review of your last week. Give me a score. How did you do? And then specifically, how'd you do in those 5 core pillars? And then we look at what's the weakest one or whatever. And we're like, oh, shoot, like I killed it on fitness. I provided my paycheck, you know what I mean? But maybe I didn't lead the family as well. Or, maybe I didn't spend time in the word. You know what I mean? So we kind of look at these things collectively and we're like, okay, where are we slipping? Right. And then that allows us to shore up that weak area to continue getting better across all facets. And one of the reasons I do this is because I've been part of men's groups before. And what can happen if you don't take time, intentional time for reflection every week? I mean, I do it every day, but a weekly reflection, you can be slipping for a long time in any area and never even realize it because you're not making time for reflection, right? Because you're not accountable to anybody. You don't have to answer to anybody. And so, one missed one workout turns into 2, turns into 3, turns into 6 months. And
And
then 6 months later, you look back and you're like, oh gosh, when did I even stop working out? Like, how long have I been off this train? So I encourage guys every Sunday, we'll do a review. And then I'll say, hey, do the family meeting if you haven't had one in a while. And then I'll remind guys every Sunday, hey, check your presence, check your phone time, be aware of what you're doing. So, but this is just the power of being in a brotherhood. You've got guys to step in and say, hey, let's all just take a minute, pause, and check ourselves. And I'll do that too. I think I just did. I just tweeted one the other day. I don't remember what I did. I said, oh, I think I tweeted and put in the chat, like, let's everybody just pause and ask yourselves, are you being the man you want to be? Do you know how much power is in that? Just like a quick step, and I'll tweet too, like, hey, stop, capacity check. Are we all good? Are we overextending ourselves? Are we, running our kids all over God's creation to this sport, that sport, and we don't have any time for ourselves? Like, let's take a pause and let's check. But without that brotherhood, you don't have anybody doing that. You don't have anybody encouraging
You have
that.
your
You
own
don't have
echo
anybody
chamber
even
in your head.
yeah, you don't
Yeah.
have anybody thinking to ask those questions. You don't have
Mm-mm.
anybody saying, "Hey, let's make sure we're continuing to get better," because that's something we can do too. In the day-to-day, we just go through and it becomes the grind, and then you're like, "Hey, I want to do this goal," right? And since you didn't write it down, since you didn't profess it to anybody, since nobody knows, you didn't break that down into daily actions, and you went a week, you went a month, you went a year, and nothing's been done. So that's just one of the things that we do. If you write that down and people see that, that becomes more real. And your bros can say, "Hey, how's that thing going? How's that thing you were working on?" You're like, "Oh, I haven't touched that in forever. I got to get back to that." Right. And that's the thing I hit on too, is I remind our guys to not chase shiny objects all the time. As men, as entrepreneurs, it's really easy to be like, "I want to do this. Nope, I want to do that. I'm going to drop this halfway. I'm going to go do that." I remind our guys constantly, don't chase shiny objects. Finish the thing you're working on if it's still important to you. If you need to pivot and go to this, understand that that's what you're doing. You're pivoting and going to this. You're not just chasing shiny objects. The same way, I think we chatted beforehand, the same way if I'm doing a workout or something in my workout and you see me doing it and you're like, "Oh, that dude's a badass. I need to do whatever it is he's doing." That's not true. If that doesn't fit in your plan, don't do it. Right? Don't just do it because somebody else will do. So with bros, you can remind each other to stop chasing shiny objects. I tell people all the time that the group, we're a soundboard too, right? If you want to make a move to quit your 9 to 5 and do this side hustle, bounce it off the sideboard. We talked about this in Justin's episode, Barret. You bounce it off the guys. Don't just be rash and make your own independent decision. "All right, I'm quitting my job because I want to go do this other thing." Throw that out to us. Say, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What are the pros?" And maybe we can say, "Good idea. Slow down a little bit." You know what I mean? Use the 9 to 5, make sure you're paying the bills before going down this road of, exploring this side hustle or whatever. But that's just the power. I tell people all the time, like the brotherhood thing, getting in a men's group is a crazy concept to a lot. It's very foreign, but once you experience that, and it's one of those things that you don't know, right? You don't know how awesome it can be to do life with a bunch of bros together, right? But I ask you to consider it, take that plunge, because there's a lot of dudes that get involved with men's group. Once you get a taste of that, you never want to go back solo.
Right.
Never. Never. I mean, it's so cliche. What is it? You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go with the group. I mean, it's so true. It's just disgusting. So little bit of pitch there, but a little bit of talk about what we do there. And again, I mentioned we help guys navigate these changes. So if you're seeing behavioral changes, we go through daily intentions, weekly reviews. We talk about how you're doing. It's cool stuff, man. It's a cool thing. I'm really honored that you came on today. I'm always pumped when I meet a bro that is of the like mind, because I'm just like, dude, yes, another person on board to change the world, right?
Right.
Because because everything we're saying might be completely foreign, but the more guys that are talking like this and about this, the more that normal becomes, right? So I'm pumped, man. Thanks for joining us today.
I'm very happy to be here. I think I'm open to coming back again, just so that it's been said. I wanted to touch on something that you said. One of the ways that I stay curious is, and I'm trying to teach my son this because he's 13, so he's hitting that age where he knows everything. It just happens, and I think that part of that is because they go through this process where dad knows everything, and then that gets that rug gets pulled out from under them one day when they're like, "Oh, he doesn't know everything. He must know," and they overcorrect, right? Like, "Oh, he must know nothing."
Yes.
Like, no, that's not the case. Like, you can just ask me. I'll tell you what I don't know. I stay curious by being more aware of what I do not know rather than being aware of what I do know. And there is a vast amount of stuff I do not know, and that keeps me excited because then I can go learn something. Like Da Vinci. For my podcast, I was telling Barrett, it was terrifying. I pulled that program open. I had no idea what anything was. But my wife, she was like, "I know how." And that's great because now I have a translator. I have a language to learn, but it doesn't help me if it's just Egyptian hieroglyph. So I got my wife who can learn it. She can figure out what it is, and then she can explain it to me. And now two of us can do it. And it didn't cost us anything but the program. Then I keep one. We keep talking about when it comes to kids. This is going back a little bit. I've been holding on to it. The one thing before, to me, the most important, ask your family as a family if you would, you got to be ready for this. Ask your family if you could go on a 30-day electronic device purge. So for 30 days, zero electronic devices. If the family immediately is like, no, 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 like we can't do that, especially children. And I understand that the three of us are doing business with it. That is work and set aside. I'm talking about entertainment purposes. Children have no reason to be on it. I know, again, with the exception of school, I wouldn't have them in that school, but that's a different conversation. A purge for entertainment purposes. No electronic devices in the house. And for children that are and heavily addicted to it, they don't know anything other than that. So they have to remove it completely. It takes even someone that wants to go through substance abuse 90 days to remove something out before they can even begin treatment. So 30 days is nothing. It's just a drop in the hat. It's an experiment with your family to see their reaction. And 9 times out of 10 in today's society, they're going to react violently. Like, whoa, no, absolutely not. That is actually how you know there's a problem. And on the flip side, if they're like, yeah, we can do that. Cool, then do it. Do it. It's only going to be beneficial.
Yeah.
My son, I caught him up late one night on Discord, and that terrified me. He grew up with the device his whole life. We had already limited his screen time, but I didn't know that he had been getting up and taking his tablet. This is over a year ago now. That initiated a 90-day purge, and I started reading a book. I'll have to send the link to Barret to put up because I recommend. It's one of the things I help dads with all the time. I recommend this book because it taught me a lot that I didn't even know. That is affecting them in such a way, it's disrupting a lot. It's bad for adults. It's horrific for children. If you're going to start with one thing, you want to start doing all these things with your kids and getting them to be better, this, and that. This thing is holding them back the way my anger was holding me back. You get rid of this, and now you have this. My son was able to recognize that it had such an effect on him. And we used to, well, I'll show you guys something. We used to play a particular game that meant a lot to us. And I mean, like, God of War with his son hanging around. We played that together and we gave it up because it was digital and it was not good for him. I didn't want to accept that, but it wasn't. And now he's able to recognize the effect it had on him. And one of the things that did to him is he tries to convince his friends in the neighborhood, like, come outside and play because that's not good for you. That's not helping. He's trying to explain. Yeah, he's trying to explain to them. Well, he's like a recovering addict explaining to an addict, like, dude, we got to get away from the crack. Let's leave it alone.
Oh, boy.
Parents, we say a lot that it's like they're on drugs, like they're on meth or something.
It really is.
No, it really is for their developing brain. It can't handle it. So get rid of that first, please. And then I hope Barret will put it somewhere in here. I don't know. The book title. It helped me a lot and I always recommend it. I don't get anything from that.
He'll figure out how
It's
to put
huge.
it in here. He's a wizard with that type of stuff.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
It's crazy whenever. So we also limit screen time for our oldest. The 3-year-old doesn't care about screens yet. But it's a night and day shift. So there's a couple examples. One of them is when she goes to visit her grandparents. My mother-in-law has a sign right above her threshold says no rules at whatever, at Yaya's house, her grandma's house. I don't remember which one it says. She's Greek. I don't care for that sign, but whatever. That's besides the point. My point is when she goes there, I've looked at her screen time like the next day. I think the biggest number I've seen was 14 or 15 hours straight. 14 hours straight.
One day?
One day.
Whoa.
It's consecutive, so it bleeds into like 3 or 4 a.m. and that troubles me. We've had several discussions with my mother-in-law about that. It's curbed it a lot since then, but yeah, that was like the record time that I saw. But my point with that is when she comes home the next day, she has such insane withdrawal, and as myself as a recovering alcoholic,
Oh,
um,
I didn't
I
know.
I can I recognize it real fast. I'm like, you're very irritable. You're clearly going through withdrawal right now, and the other, I mean, both of the points that I was going to make was around withdrawal. Like even when she's at home, we limit her to the amount of time she has. But as soon as I like hear the beeping notification that the time's about to end, she just immediately gets frustrated and angry. And then when the screen shuts off, she just shuts down emotionally completely. And there's slight withdrawal symptoms after that. So just to reiterate your point of it is a drug. Like it's not great. I understand everyone needs a little downtime to decompress and relax and all that, but there is definitely way too much of that in a modern society, and it's just the comfort crisis. Like there's
Well,
a
we were told that it was good for their development. Like
yeah,
my son had a tablet for 8 years, I think. He had a tablet from the time he was like 2. And I was
yeah,
excited that he was learning how to do it. I was excited that he could use it better than his grandmother. I thought it was a good thing. And then it you come to find out that it's not, because it for just from what I remember, all right, the book will do a much better. She's a doctor, like this is her thing. She explains it in a much better way. Their brain is not developed enough to be able to tolerate the difference between what it can't filter out what is beneficial and what is not beneficial. So it's learning just in excess. It's sucking it up like a sponge, including the dopamine that it's getting from it. Because when we were kids and watching TV, the we have ADHD is like a big problem for millennials, because the reaction time, like the screens were just moving quickly for ads, the different shows, the attention was gone. For them, it's been intentionally designed with bright colors, loud noises. It's been intentionally designed to keep their attention, like constantly re-engaging every 30 seconds. So it's like getting a microdose constantly.
yeah,
And then as soon as it's off, there's no microdose. Like that dopamine button's not being spammed anymore. And
hmm
it's frustrating. They can't even emote it. They don't even know how to describe what they're experiencing, because they should never be experiencing it to begin with. I mean,
yeah,
it actually disrupts their sleep cycle, because the brain can't filter out what's real and what's not. So they can't sleep. And if your brain can't sleep, all three of us know, that's terrible. It can't do the shutdown process.
yeah,
And then if you do that for an
That's
extended period, it breaks them. What what blew my mind was there was one kid in there, and my kid was 30 days, because we wanted to put back, because he got to where he was kind of afraid of screens. Like he just wouldn't acknowledge they existed, because he was afraid he was going to get pulled back. Like an addict, he knows. He's like, oh, I got to stay away from that. So we started to have intentional family time watching. We like The Chosen, that Christian show, The Chosen. We like that, but like when we have discussions about it after. But that's now family time, and it's not all the time. It's spread out. For my son, when we started to re-engage that, he noticed. He was like, actually, I don't want to watch today because I had trouble sleeping last night, so I want to wait. For some of the kids, it's taking 30 and 90 days for it to like leave their system so they can get the proper amount of rest before their brain is back to where it
Jeez.
should be. 30 and 90 days. And then in one of her case studies, this kid was given a video game as a reward. Like, and he only played it for an hour, a single hour. And then it took him another month to recover. So it's
Whoa.
taking that long to reprocess from it. So it's huge. It is. Now, an adult, we can just put it down and go about our business. And
No,
for
I don't know about
us,
that. I don't know about
well, okay,
that.
I said can. I said
Yeah.
can. We actually have the capacity.
Yeah.
I don't think they have yet to develop the capacity. That's why we have to be the capacity restrictor for them.
Yeah.
We are dopamine mining when we're doing the doom scrolling. We're mining for dopamine constantly. Go, 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 go. For them, it's not about that. They aren't dopamine mining. They're getting it regardless, just being there in that environment. And a lot of, for boys, there's a lot of studies on this. It's not the same book, but it parallels it. This blew my mind. If you have a boy that lives a sedentary lifestyle in his early teen years, right now, that means I'm going to target video games, but that's not what I said. Sedentary. So if he's sitting down and he's exclusively reading books, this will have a similar result. So it's sedentary. Physical fitness is very good for you.
Oh yeah.
He will be stunted in his development for his emotional and cognitive maturity. So if he is sedentary from 13 to 15, when he is 15 and tries to like embark on things, he's still 13. So if he's sedentary until he's 18 and he's 18 starting out as though he is 13. How many guys out there never left the sedentary? So they're 25, 27, and then they
Oof.
finally decide to get rid of it. And now they're still 13. For video games, whenever you started playing it, if you've never left it, you're constantly there. You never developed beyond it. So our women's intuition being like, no, video games are bad, they were correct again. They just couldn't tell us why, but they were right.
Right.
And then for girls, to me, the biggest screen time for guys is video games. Well, to me, this tells me it's out. And that's why like my son and I gave up that game series that we really did enjoy, because we would take turns old school. Like I would die, he would take over. He would die, I would take, like we did it old school. And for girls, the social media side of it is so bad for them. The sedentary is still bad for girls, but nowhere near, like it's like this, it's bad for girls. And then for guys, it's like way bad. And then for girls, the social media, it's bad for guys, but horrible for girls. So this is two different things on the technology basis that's out. And they like to say it's very good for their development because they'll learn how to use it. It increases their learning time. Did you know that after 3 days, that's done? All of that yield only happens for the first 3 days.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
So after that, it does nothing else for them. It doesn't increase learning continually. It's just that 3 days, they get this boost in productivity, and then they're sacrificing everything for something they already got and it's done with.
I was
Like that.
thinking the boy versus the girl dynamic, like it seems natural to me that it is more detrimental to the boys because the boys are built to go and do, to build, to play, to work, to do all the things. That's in our nature, is to move. So when you take that away from the boys, it is it is a much worse result. Now, when you transition from talking to kids to adults on the screen, so that's a hot button for me. I can't understand. We talked about it a little bit. I can't understand how adults doom scroll. I don't get it. I can't even wrap my head around it. I know it happens, but I don't know why. We talked about a little earlier, like TikTok and all that stuff. I can't understand it. I'll say this. As a man, I do not like to be ruled by things. In my life, when I realize that something is happening like that, I will shut that crap down immediately, even if it's not detrimental, right? I remember this one example. There's a show, I don't remember, Archer was the show. It was on FX. I really liked that show. This was before the, like, you had to catch it at that time. You couldn't just go on Netflix and binge it. You had to actually catch it when it was on, which is just a wild concept. But I think it was on Sunday evenings or something like that, but I would stop everything and I'd have to go watch the show, right? And it was doing nothing detrimental. There was no reason that I should have stopped it, other than as a man, I was like, oh my goodness, every single Sunday, this dictates what I'm going to be doing with my time, right? I like to be a free man. And so I just realized that, and I was like, I'm not doing anything that's more important than watching that, but I'm not going to watch it.
This
I do not like being ruled by this thing. So, you can do that with food or doom scrolling or any habits, pornography, anything, whatever you
that's
want to
out.
do. If you are being ruled by something as a man, I want you to stop and think about that. Acknowledge that as a man, like, oh shoot, I am being ruled by something. And I
The
mean,
best
I
way to find
can't
out
tell
is to cut
you.
it out. The best
Yeah,
way to find out if something's ruling you, cut it out for 30 days. It's
that's right.
just a month. It's
That's right.
just 1 month. Cut it out.
That's right.
And if you are noticing that you're like, I gotta go get like my fit, dude, you should probably just not go back to it.
Yeah.
That was,
I
you said pornography. That was me with pornography. I never thought that there was anything wrong. I had my first, this was such a cruelty. My mother was married to a particular individual that I don't even like discussing. But one of the gifts that I was given at 9 years old was a magazine that was definitely for adults, and it had a bunny on it. All right, like I was given this, and I didn't think I was 9. How was I supposed to know that I shouldn't have this? Right, like it. I was told by adults that I trusted that it was good, and so I went with that. That's where my addiction to that started at 9. Like it's terrible. I cut that out of my life, and it wasn't until I cut it out that I even knew it had a hold on me. Like that 90-day challenge, that was the first one that I tried to get rid of, and it took me a few years to find, because it's not like there's a, well, okay, I don't know, maybe there are. I didn't check to see if there were support groups for getting off pornography. I was just not going there. I didn't want to talk about it. I was too embarrassed. I just wanted to run away from it, especially when I realized it had me, because it was everywhere. You cut it out, and then you're on your phone and you see an ad and you're like, oh, well, crap. Like now my brain is wired to think about this one thing exclusively.
Yeah.
So having to retrain your algorithm, that's a brutal process. It's anyone that's trying to do that, just start over with new accounts and purge everything. Just wipe your phone, new accounts, incognito, start everything, because the apps talk to each other. So if you're if you're using one app, that's what I did. I used one app to do that, and so it would stay away from the other ones, but they kept talking to each other. It didn't help. Just cut it out completely and be honest that it's hard. Don't do it solo. It's horrible. Go
don't
go
do it
find a
solo.
group of guys.
Right.
Go find a
Right.
group of
Yeah.
guys to talk to about it. Maybe don't talk to your wife about it.
Well,
Like
even if it's not even if it's not a group of guys solely focused on that, something like our group, we can talk about that. We can talk
yeah,
about quitting changing habits, because I've done a lot of
those are the
reading
best
on.
groups.
Yeah, I do a lot of reading on habits, and you use the word our brain is wired to, and that's completely factual. There are neurological wirings in our brain designed to keep you like on that track and keep a hold of. You actually have to rewire pathways in your brain by those, you set that goal, then you turn that into daily intentional actions, and you actually start to rewire your brain one small win at a time. One minute, 1 hour, 1 day, you start to stack those wins and start to rewire that. And then you've got to understand that not all progress is linear. You're going to make strides. You're going to have 2 good days. You might have one
Ooh.
bad day, right? So don't burn it all down because you missed a day. It's non-linear. It's all over the place. You're not just going to make progress all the time. You're going to have setbacks, but that's things that we talk about. I have not personally coached someone through a porn addiction. I'd be up to the task. I'll tell you that right now. If you're watching this, I would be up to the task. And I do know other guys personally that do it, so I can lean into them, and
I have
we
developed
can.
some pretty harsh criticisms for it. And I've developed very harsh criticisms for that entire industry as a result, because it's, it's an old saying. It's civilization accumulates, barbarism does not. And there's nothing that generates for society. It doesn't do
Right,
anything.
right,
I mean, any of the women that have come out of that industry, they that have come out of it as though and they weren't fired. I'm talking about the ones that willingly were like, I got to get out of here. They all tell you very quickly, like that stuff is bad. And it's so much worse what's going on than you ever think about things. And That's a dark, awful side of the world that's terrible.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
seen I've
And
seen, Barrett was talking about the other day, he said and I've seen tweets on it, like the, men did greater things when it wasn't so easy to see boobies or something to that effect. But,
Yeah.
it's such a
that's
I forget what country it's a country where they don't I think it's in Africa, where they don't the women aren't covered, like, in their society. They just walk around topless like the guys do,
Yeah.
and they they call us, breast obsessed in America. They're like, "What is wrong with y'all?" Like, it's just they're just like, "It's just a sack of fat. Y'all need to chill out." It's like, I don't
that's crazy. I've got to, I gotta get running. But, I'll tell you what, like, and that's just one area. So if you feel, if you're a man, you realize that you're getting ruled by something. I can't tell you that as a man you should be upset by that, but as a man, I'm upset when I'm ruled by something. It just, like, at my core pisses me right off, and I wanna make a change. I wanna be a free man, not ruled over by anything. But yeah, I can't tell you it should bother you, but it should probably bother you. If it doesn't bother you, you should probably question your masculinity and manhood. Um
as an American, if you're not free, you should probably be upset.
That's right.
That'll be my take.
Well, that's a whole nother can of worms about American freedoms, right? But yeah, I got to run, gents, because I got to lead the family today. I got to go spend some time with the kiddos and all that. Got to go do the things.
Yep.
But yeah, this was certainly an enjoyable conversation. I want to do a lot more of these. It was awesome.
Yeah, like you said at the
Outstanding.
beginning, man, you're game for round 2, so we'll have to get
Absolutely.
something queued up here soon. But yeah, definitely appreciate you taking the time. I certainly enjoyed it. I know I didn't speak that much, but it's my nature, I guess. I absorb a lot and then process, and it just makes me a better person being able to have
You'll be
the
ready next time.
yeah, yeah. It's just gonna be me. I'm gonna mute you guys, and I'm just gonna speak at you. But
Oh, it's great.
at the party, Brandon, where can people find you? I know you got a couple books, social medias. Go ahead and drop all those. I'll put them in the show
My
notes.
f my favorite you can find me anywhere at Pondering More. My favorite 2 places are X and Substack.
Nice, man.
Those are the best places. I have a newsletter where I send out weekly. I don't spam people's emails. I send out weekly a newsletter to help dads do a little bit better. I talk about things. I got the next one coming out on courage, 9-part, 10-part series on courage, and it'll be out Wednesday. So if you can get signed up to the email, if you get signed up to the list before, then I'll add you and you'll start getting them.
Excellent. And where can people grab your books if they're interested?
Amazon. And if you enjoy it, please leave a review. That helps a lot more than even buying it.
Yeah. Right on. Well, Brandon, again, appreciate you. Better Bros. Always excited to chat with you, man. And we'll be chatting soon.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen. If what we're saying hits home, don't just listen. Join us, bro. Go to www.menmadebetter.com and step into the Brotherhood. That's www.menmadebetter.com. We'll see you soon.